Hey, Mr. Tucker, Lee. We've basically come to the conclusion. We know what your problem is. It was fuel. Also, your water pump impeller, which I can tell you why you overheated. So this is your water pump impeller, and it's actually about ready to come completely apart. But these veins should be radiating straight out from the center, and the fact that they're folded over, they're not really pumping anything, and that one was about to come apart. That is the impellers need to be changed every couple of years at a minimum. If you use it a lot every year, that's the recommendation from the manufacturers every year. That vein is about ready to break off. We caught them at a lucky time, because if they do break off, they get caught in the water passageways within the engine. So there's a third one about ready to break off. But basically, these are in the position of being folded up, and when they fold, that squeezes the water out from between the veins, and that water goes out the discharge. And then this is an eccentric placement inside the pump, so then the veins stretch back out, and when they stretch back out, they suck fresh water in. So these aren't stretching back out, so therefore no water's getting pulled in to cool the engine. And that's what happened to your engine as far as the cooling goes. We did also notice that your ground battery cable is really short. That didn't have any effect on the operation of your boat, none whatsoever. It's just it could, because that cable could pull out of the clamp on the end when you're bouncing down the river, but that had no effect on the operation of your boat. But again, it could affect the reliability. You'll also notice that the bolts that hold the engine down are all loose, both sides. So that's awful curious, because your prop shaft has to be aligned to the transmission. Yeah, that side's loose. It looks like one might be tight. There's no fuel getting to the two carburetors, and so that, by the way, that tells me you have a KFL engine. And what I did is I said, I wonder how much fuel's in the tank. And I reached around for the closest dipstick that I could find. And when I placed it in the tank, I could feel debris in the bottom of the tank. And I could actually stir the debris a little bit. And I could pull the debris out in the handle of the broom, in this little crook in the handle. So this is your fuel problem. This is likely clogged not likely, I'm sure that the inlet to your fuel pump is clogged. Fuel pumps need to be rebuilt. I would suggest, for reliability, that the carburetors be rebuilt as well. Carburetors are $300 a piece to rebuild. The fuel pump's about $300. So there's $900 right there. We need to put a new impeller in the water pump. That's $50, plus a little time, so maybe $100 to put a new impeller in. We also need to build you a new fuel tank. I cleaned one tank out one time, and they've got baffles in them, so you really can't clean everything out of the tank. And then even if we did, this is a 60, remind me of the year, do the math, 60-some-year-old tank. And so what I'm getting out of there is rust. I could verify that it's magnetic, maybe, but anyway, it certainly looks like rust. Oh yeah, it's definitely rust. So we don't know how deep the pits are where that rust came from. And we might do the clean out and end up with pinholes in the tank. We build tanks, and we've had people. So for about 600 bucks. I can build you a tank. $1,000 to put it in. Build you a tank, put it in. About $1,200, because you also need a new fuel filter, and I would recommend a water separating filter. We have those, and new fuel line, because your fuel line's all contaminated as well. So we just need to change your fuel system, and that'd run about $1,200 to change the fuel system. So we're up around $2,000, $2,500 to replace the tank, rebuild the carburetors, go ahead and take care of your overheating problem, and rebuild your fuel pump, and then replace your fuel lines. Let's see what else was important. There's something else that, oh yeah. So the points, your problem was fuel. You did have some spark, but the points were very dirty. Your ignition points, where's the dirty section? Here we go. The ignition points, when they come out of the factory, they're highly polished. And so we don't want to sandpaper them or file them, because once you start that process, you remove the polished surface, you rough up the polished surface, and so now you'll be roughing up the polished surface several times a day to enjoy your boat. So in your case, where your boat sits all winter, winter after winter, I don't normally, because I'm old school and I know how to adjust points, I don't normally suggest the electronic ignition, but I'm going to suggest an electronic ignition for you. So that does away with the points. So from season to season, that problem will go away. The coil also changes. The whole conversion kit's around $200, $250, and then it'll take us, it doesn't really take all that long. It takes us like maybe a half hour to put it in, and then, and test. So, you're looking at about $3,000, and we can have this thing running like a top, and you won't want to sell it because it'll run so well and be so reliable. These things really are very reliable. They can be just as reliable as my Speedster that I know you're still considering. So, anyhow, but I realize, it's your boat. If you want to sell it, we can take care of that for you. But we'll need to remedy those particular problems, or we really won't get it sold. Not if I'm honest with the customers, and that's what I am. So, anyhow, that's the latest on the boat. Good find. Oh, one other thing. These the trailer that you bought from me has a security lug nut, and